why the internet really wants your ID and why now. The laws are happening all over the place. These ID verification laws. There's laws that are like trying to ban VPN. There's laws that are, it's all very great firewall, but outside of China.
In late June, Australia made an amendment to the Social Media Minimum Age Act that expanded its scope to block access to sites like YouTube for anybody in the country under the age of 16. This was in addition to bans already in place for more traditional social media sites like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Reddit.
Wait, those are actually in place? Do we have any Australians here? Can you confirm? We did a video on this, but I thought it didn't actually go through. Not here yet. Guess what I thought? They take place in December. Okay. Yeah, I did a video on this because I thought it was interesting. And I even was sympathetic to the cause. Like, I actually think, you know, an under 16 ban on some social media might not be that crazy, bro. It might not be that crazy. It might not be that crazy. People's brains are getting cooked. So that particularly I don't have a problem with. But I think the point of maybe not this video, but the complaints I'm seeing is that once you roll out ways to verifiably turn off websites for people and they have to all register with their age and ID and face, you can then more easily censor or block them or punish them or whatever. That's the idea.
From then, over the course of just 30 days, a wave of governments and tech platforms have started following the old penal colony's lead. Here in the UK, the government introduced new laws requiring robust age verification checks for residents wanting to access materials that would, make Jesus sad. The EU began trials of age check systems for social media, and in America, several states have started rolling out age verification requirements, all under the guise of limiting minors' access to harmful social media and smut. Now, if there's one thing we all know about tech companies, it's that they can lobby against pretty much anything they don't like. But on this particular issue, they're actually pushing for these regulations harder than the governments.
Interesting.
Starting in about a week from when this video is posted, YouTube will be introducing an AI system to guesstimate your age based on your watch patterns and activity. So if it sees all the mindless slop you've been consuming,
That's actually so funny. So many man children are cooked. Oh no. Yeah, you gotta, dude, it's gonna be so funny. Children have to stomach like an hour of golf highlights just to reset their algorithm. They're gonna have to watch fucking Roblox brain slop for an hour and then stick in a fucking golf tournament. Just put it on while they sleep. Yeah, exactly. 4-hour World War I documentary. Put that on while you sleep and you get at least a month of free brain rot.
and determines you're under 16, it's going to restrict access to certain videos, change your advertising selection, and limit comments and uploads. They'll be joining other platforms like Discord, Spotify, and Meta, which have already started rolling out similar systems behind the scenes. Now, of course, there is one simple fix to get around all of these new limitations. All you need to do is hand over your identification.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a new law that will force Apple and Google to verify users' ages.
We want them to have real experiences with real people.
Verifying your age keeps a child safe.
It's about how dangerous social media is for our children.
The time to act is now. We must protect our children so that we can protect their future.
Yeah, I always get a little spooked out when someone who looks like this says we have to protect the children. I'll just be honest with you. When one with a cross necklace tells me that we got to protect our children, I always feel like there's going to be some bad laws coming. It's tough. I truly wish there was like a magic button I could press and it just made people under 16 not able to get completely mind fucked by social media. But I also know that governments could abuse this power.
Future.
Protecting the children has always been an effective way to push through policies that the general public would otherwise be opposed to. Nobody in today's, political climate wants to be on record saying anything other than they support protecting children. Social media companies are also largely unpopular with the general public, so for lawmakers, it's a slam dunk case that's very hard to oppose. A recent survey conducted by Pew Research found that most adults overwhelmingly support more control on how children engage with these platforms.
Yeah.
But popular messages like this have always been used to push through otherwise unpopular changes like banning books, mandating security backends on
I'm
devices.
sorry, Captain Underpants? Captain Underpants was pulled for passive racism? What was racist about Captain Underpants? They canceled Captain Underpants? This is 2021. This was an era. That's crazy.
Books, mandating security backends on devices, prohibitions, and censorship. Now, I know that's probably not a shock to you, but what may be surprising is why big tech companies are so willing to go along with these new changes, because there are genuine business liabilities that come with these rules. At the very same time that these new laws were being rolled out across the world, one of the most severe data breaches ever was taking place. The app T was intended to be used exclusively by women, so for verification, the company required new users to confirm their gender with a picture and their government-issued ID. Instead of being deleted after this verification, like the app claimed it would be, these files were kept unsecured on an open URL, resulting in—
I was talking with Doug about this. Apparently they just had like a plain text file with everything in it. And you could find it by changing the URL in your browser. That's fucking crazy. And yeah, apparently it was vibe coded. They made the app with AI and there just wasn't a security. That's fucking wild.
Tens of thousands of users having their most sensitive data leaked. Now, the original intention of this app and its strict identity verification was either for women's safety or doxing men, depending on who you ask. The whole fallout has become incredibly political, which is probably the only reason you've actually heard about it. Similar breaches are becoming more and more common all the time. Allianz Life Insurance lost the data of 1.4 million of their customers, and companies like Google, Apple, and Telegram lost 16 billion login details. Now, these would be bad enough as once-in-a-decade hacks, but all of these happened within just the last 30 days. The point is,
Is that why I'm getting fucking hacked on Twitter all the time? Did my shit get leaked? Why is my password out there? My old password? I don't understand, dude. Listen, I thought it was just a content creator thing, because every single day, I shit you not, for over a year and a half now, I get password reset requests on everything. You just deal with it, and you never respond to it. You check, but then they got into Twitter, I guess. Check this, haveibeenpwned.com. This email has been found in multiple data breaches. Twitter was hacked, it says on here. There was a Smogon data breach. I put in an old email. This shit got hacked from the Pokemon Smogon website. Gary's Mod Face Punch Studio got hacked. Team Solo Mid website got hacked. Tumblr got hacked. Last FM got hacked. Chegg. Dude, I put in my oldest email and it's like, yeah, this got revealed in a Chegg data breach back when I was fucking trying to cheat in school. That's great. My info was stolen from Club Penguin. You'd think the hackers would have a fucking ounce of honor. Do you know what I'm saying? Hack the IRS, sure. Hack banks, sure, but hack Club Penguin? Isn't that considered to be sacred ground? Isn't that where a lot of hackers came up? Well, anyway, I guess of all the things that could have gotten hacked, Twitter was the best. Low-key. I know that sounds crazy, but like, it made me change all my passwords to everything. You know, if it had been like something else, you know, a bank or something, it could have been way worse. So you should be two-factored. Dude, they charge for it on Twitter. I'm going to tell you this. They charge for you. My bank is such a good password, I don't even know it. That's not that good then. You should know it. All right, well, where were we in this?
A website that's holding onto your personal details is a big risk for you and a big risk for them. So for businesses to be embracing this so wholeheartedly, there needs to be some upside. Now, you might just think that if they get your ID, that's simply more data they can use to optimize content recommendations and advertising towards you. But it's not quite that simple. If you use their services frequently enough, even average tech companies can find out more about you than anything they're going to get off your driver's license or passport.
Sure.
The reason why suggestions served to you through platforms such as Google AdSense, Amazon, or Meta Ads seem so targeted is because even without logging into a dedicated profile, they can track thousands of variables to build up a pretty good idea of—
My chat told me it's because they have a microphone on my phone that's always listening, and then there literally goes to Jeff Bezos' desk, and he listens in, and he goes, wait a minute, I think he's talking about Oreos. He tells his fucking guy to go send me ads for Oreos. Is that what you did when you worked at Amazon? Yeah, that was my full-time job. Sometimes it's assistant. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I did it for Jeff. Jeff would be like, hey, I'm going to be on the yacht today, Brandon. Can you just listen to the phone calls of 300 million Americans?
Who you are and what you're into. They don't need your ID to sell ads to you. The real motivation is that companies like Amazon, Google, and Apple are already investing heavily into what they're calling digital credentials. About 11 months ago, Google quietly launched the Digital Credentials API to developers, which, in their own words, allows websites to selectively request verifiable information about the user through digital credentials such as a driver's license or a national identification card stored on a digital wallet. The idea is that instead of handing out your identity to hundreds of different sites individually as new laws start requiring it, you just thoroughly verify your ID with a company like Google, and then they verify you on your behalf to all these other sites. Now, before we get into issues with this system,
Logging in with your government ID. Google mail to Pornhub.
verify you on your behalf to all these other sites. Now, before we get into issues with this system, and believe me, there are issues, it's important to understand how this is going to be solved. The benefit to you is that you only need to stand up and take a selfie holding up your license and some number of fingers once, instead of dozens of times for every site that starts requiring your ID. It also does generally cut down on the risk that your identity will be stolen through a hack because it limits how many different places are holding your actual credentials. And for what it's worth, a company like Google is more likely to keep that data secured properly over some of the more sketchy digital domains you're probably thinking of trekking into. And that's
Smogon.
actually the point. Every data breach that makes headlines is a way to market these new services as a safer alternative. In a way, what Google is hoping to become is like a PayPal for your identity. Instead of handing out your sensitive details everywhere,
I mean, this already exists. I feel like half people in the chat already do this. I do this. I log into almost every place with Google because it already has autofill on my stuff. You know, if you're like signing up for an account, I don't make a new username and password. I just sign in with Google. LOL, okay, my Google got hacked and someone bought ads with it. Someone hacked your Google to buy ads? For what? For their fucking dropship mobile games?
you just hand it to one reputable third party. Now, the business potential of such a system, if it were to be widely adopted, is massive. The reason that these companies are generally supportive of this legislation is because they stand to more than make up the revenue from losing people under the age of 18 off their platforms, and then some. It wouldn't give a company like Google anything they don't already know about you, but what it would do is allow them to serve you an ad like, "Congratulations, you're already pre-approved for this credit card or this buy now, pay later service."
They do this anyway.
Web pages using the Login with Google feature could automatically remove things like credit checks or personal information entry, which stands as a barrier between you and them completing a sale. It would also make it really hard for sites offering services like gambling to not work with Google, because if people get used to using their inbuilt ID verification, they're instinctively going to go where it's offered, and be skeptical of sites that want to do things the old-fashioned way. This would make their advertising business far more lucrative in certain fields like financial services, gaming, and pharmaceuticals. It would also potentially
Gaming?
open up a new revenue source for them, as
gamers?
online businesses would need to pay a fee to them for their identification services, the same way that PayPal takes a commission on transaction processing.
Well, that's not cool.
The problem for Google and other companies trying to
No, if they have to pay a fee to it, then either don't do it at all, or it has to be like a government agency, really. You would need to have some sort of like ID.
roll out similar services is that nobody really wants this. Another Pew Research survey found that the overwhelming majority of surveyed participants would prefer to use the internet anonymously. Now, they could slowly push people to get on board with it through a long marketing campaign and a gradual rollout, but that's going to be slow and expensive. Even if it's just out of laziness, most people aren't going to sign up for a digital credential system unless they really need to. So the best strategy for these companies is to make sure that people really need to. Tech companies have been spending millions of dollars in lobbying on these laws around the world, but they haven't been paying to fight the regulations, they've been paying to shape them. Google's own announcement of their new credential system included a reference to the European Union's eIDAS 2.0 system as proof of how essential this new tool would become. But these particular regulations are something that they themselves have been heavily involved in influencing. In other words, they are creating the need and then providing the solution. If in a week's time, when YouTube automatically detects that you may be under 18 and asks for your ID to prove otherwise, you would have already taken the first step into their new, highly lucrative,
Automatically taking you under 18 with AI is crazy. So stupid, every kid will find a workaround. Well, I think the workaround will be just to sign up, like just to get in their system, and then they've got you.
ID ecosystem. Now, there are absolutely other motivations for pushing through these rules from different parties as well. Governments will have more oversight over their people's online activities, e-commerce businesses will have a smoother sales process, and I'm sure some people out there genuinely do care about the children. But to make sense of unpopular decisions, generally the best place to start looking is with who stands to make the most money.
Okay, yeah, good point.
Now, this feels like it would have been a great time to segue to some kind of VPN or data broker to delete me. But instead of that, I'm just going to shamelessly plug my own channel instead. After last week's video got so much attention, we're incredibly close to 100,000 subscribers. So if you enjoy the occasional expose mixed in with lots of videos about ships and micro...
Good luck, Micro. It's a tough one for me. I actually don't know where I stand. I don't know fully where I stand yet. In that, I am both skeptical of the government's and big tech's ability to not abuse these powers, and then also some way of... I mean, I guess we could just say you don't regulate it and the parents need to be involved, but it just seems like parents are not doing that. like the idea that parents are going to all collectively realize that their kids are getting brain rotted by social media is not going to happen. I don't know what the solution is. You can't have perfect security or perfect privacy. Thanks, Ben Franklin. I'm aware. That's why it's a tough question. Sad that the future generations will be robbed of watching people get killed on live leak at an age they have no way to process it. You know what's funny is they won't even get robbed of that. They'll in fact be kind of pushed towards it because live leak's not going to have the fucking login. YouTube will, Facebook will, Instagram will, but live leak will be open season. By the way, Twitter, you see that shit all the time. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm pretty skeptical that, like, for example, that banning Instagram or whatever stops teens from being addicted to their phone. If only because it's happened in places. Like TikTok got banned in India or whatever. They just go to a different app. They don't change their addiction to the phone. They just change the app they do it on. So ban phones in school, that's a real thing. That's real. That's concrete. I think most people would agree with that. It's a physical thing. You can ban it. It's not that hard. I mean, you can enforce it. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but you can do it. You can make it consistent. My school tried. You need to pay teachers more for them to truly care. I have heard that. I've heard that some schools try and it works for a while and then everyone gets kind of lazy and then it floods back. That's what I've heard. But that's not everywhere. That's just some places. Some places have done it and it's worked. It's like a culture thing. It's hard to say what's successful and what's not. The parents are a big problem. Yeah, I mean, I did a video on this. I talked about this. The parents, if you ask them at a high level, do they think there should be less phones in school? They say yes. But if there's actually rules to ban phones in school, the parents actually freak out. The parents go, wait, not my kid. I need to be able to talk to my kid at all times. The parents really, really want to be able to contact their children at all times. Atrioc, did they cane children in your era? No, they hadn't invented the cane yet. We had stones and chisels back then. School shootings is a cited concern. Yeah, I know. That's what was in the video as well. But parents are afraid of not being able to contact their kid during a school shooting. But obviously, like, it's crazy that is, there's like proven damage to learning from having phones in schools. So it's just making the school less useful consistently for every student on the off chance that we should ban school shootings. That's a good idea. What if we just make school shootings illegal?